Hi, one of SBR Videos. I'm Peter Loshak. We're talking right now with Nick Kalikas from MMAOddsBreaker.com, and we are going to analyze right now from UFC Fight Night 83, Donald Cerrone in his first fight after the loss to RDA as a big favorite against Alex Oliveira. Nick Kalikas, Cerrone fan favorite, right? Big favorite here, and coming off of that tough loss to RDA. It's obviously a big bounce back spot for him, but Oliveira is, another guy who's tough, who takes fights on short notice and often succeeds. And at this big of a line, I'm assuming that the public's backing Cerrone. I'm not sure if it's justified. Where'd you open this line?
Open at minus 245 for Cerrone, okay. So you are correct. They have bet it up a little bit.
All right, when you open the line, I'm assuming that you were expecting that, right?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, I'm the type that kind of would prefer the action on the favorite type of thing here. And even though Cerrone has the skill set to beat Oliveira, a guy like Oliveira, I still think it's going to be a difficult fight. Especially, I mean, recently we've seen a few fights, not just the last fight, his last loss to RDA, a formula against Cerrone that's actually working out, and that's really drilling his body, going to the body. I mean, if there's any weakness at all to Cerrone's stand-up game, it's that. I mean, Pettis had obviously a lot of success with it as well. So I think that Oliveira might be able to exploit that. I mean, he's not a bad striker in his own right. I mean, but if you're looking at technical skill set, I can understand why people are coming in on Cerrone. I mean, defensively, I think Oliveira has shown some flaws in his strike defense. Offensively, he can dish it out. But taking it, he seems to have a decent chin. But, I mean, his defense isn't as tight as you'd like to be. So Cerrone, I think, is a better defensive fighter, and he's a more technical fighter as well. So on the feet, you got to give the edge to Cerrone. On the ground, his jiu-jitsu game is off the charts. I mean, it's very underrated at times, honestly. So Cerrone definitely has the edge as far as technical skill set, standing and on the ground. But Oliveira, I think he's got an underrated wrestling game. He might be able to get a takedown or two. Now, do you want to play around in Cerrone's guard? I don't know. I mean, I'm not sure if his sub-defense is good enough not to get caught while on the ground or on the feet again. I think even though he could dish it out, I mean, he leaves enough openings, maybe Cerrone can exploit him. But all that being said, even with the short notice, I'm expecting a very competitive fight and not an easy fight. I mean, as a replacement, getting a guy like Oliveira to step in, kudos to the UFC. I mean, that's definitely a good fight.
Yeah, I mean, we're doing this call on Friday the 12th. The fight, of course, goes on Sunday the 21st, so there's a decent amount of time between now and that fight to have a lot of action come in. Are you expecting just purely because of name recognition that Cerrone will take a lot more action and that maybe we'll see this line creep up to 350, maybe even higher?
I think it might hit a little bit higher than 3-1, but not much, because I'm expecting if any sharp action comes in at all in this fight, it's going to be a stab at the dog. There's no doubt about that. I think we will see some trickles and some heavier action by fight day that come in on the dog. Now, will they get it? The public might actually get it with Cerrone here, still because of the defensive flaws that I talked about. And as the fight goes on, I mean, let's face it, the cardio there, if you're taking a fight on short notice, even though Oliveira has had success doing so, a 5-round fight against Cerrone is going to be a difficult one for sure. So as it goes on, you have to assume that it favors Cerrone in rounds 3, 4, 5, and he might be able to steal it if it even goes that long. Obviously, the total set at 2.5 for a reason, because both these guys are finishers and they're both capable of winning that way. But if it does tend to go, then you do have to give the edge to Cerrone as well. So I think we will see some sharp action come in on Oliveira. I think he has to have a little bit of confidence knowing that Cerrone got exploited with the body work a little bit, and he has a capable stand-up game in his own right. And at 170, it's interesting, right? I mean, we've never really seen Cerrone, how he handled not the weight cut, but rather the weight gain and how strong he's going to be. So there's a lot of question marks surrounding this. So I think it is a dog or pass situation, especially even if Cerrone has the tools and the edge in this fight against a very capable fighter like Oliveira.
So you're saying that from the book's perspective, it's probably going to be pretty balanced. We'll probably see the line creep up a little bit, and then later towards fight night, there will be sharp or maybe public action as well come in on Oliveira, and it'll be mostly even.
Well, I still think we're going to need Oliveira. I mean, because I think the majority of the action, even if there's some sharp, heavier action coming in on Oliveira, I think we're still going to need him to come through as far as the Cerrone. I mean, the Cerrone factor overall, as far as popularity, I mean, the fans love the guy, and for a reason. He's a warrior. I mean, he steps in on short notice all the time himself, and he performs. I mean, he went on that crazy win streak before his loss to RDA, and he fought really good competition. So the guy is definitely top-notch as far as, I mean, skill set goes about it. All his competition thus far through the UFC, and even dating back to WEC, he's fought the best of the best and beat most. So it's just a shame that when he stepped up to that title shot, he hasn't really fared too well. But outside of that, I mean, the guy just seems to go through everybody. So I think we'll continue to see some parlay action come in on Cerrone. And despite more action eventually coming in on Oliveira, we'll probably still need Oliveira to win.
All right. Well, I'm not sure if I'm going to bet this one or not, but at the current odds, You know, no disrespect to Cerrone, but I'd have to take Oliveira at plus 245. I just feel that like that line's a little bit too high. Nick Kalikas, if you had to bet this one, what would it be?
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you. I think that, again, how much confidence can you have with some of the defensive flaws that I mentioned? You wouldn't go crazy and it wouldn't be a huge, max unit player or anything like that, but it's a dogger pass situation. I think there is a little bit of value on Oliveira. I mean, he does have a couple ways to win this fight, and I think he could probably come through and do it.
All right. Thanks once again for covering this fight with us, Nick Kalikas. Nick Kalikas' website is MMAOddsbreaker.com. Thanks, Nick.